Good. What's today? Friday.
Thursday.
Thursday. God, I can't keep up with it. Good Thursday. Thursday the 3rd. It's been a long couple of weeks since we've last had a chance to check in. And my photo bomber hears me talking and she pops up and jumps right into it. As usual. Oh, so we haven't been able to do much on the Apple Press over the last couple of weeks because I've been busy out there. And those of you who have seen the updates there on my email list and Patreon from my other channel will be aware of that. Those of you who are new to the Heritage Homesteading Creations channel, make sure you're subscribed to both, although most of you probably are so far. Yeah, homesteading is about growing your own food, most of it, and being self-sufficient, and that's what takes priority. And unfortunately, it's done some things, put me off on time, that has caused some things to change, and some things have happened. So I need to catch you up to date on where we're at and what we're doing, and good things that are happening, not so good things that are happening, and what our next step is. Because I'm about done and ready to say, screw it all. Come on, honey, laugh. Yeah. Screw it all. Well, today.
Oh boy.
Today we're about ready to screw it all. We're going to get it all screwed up, and there's a few screw ups that we're going to talk about today.
You and your puns.
I'm so punny. Funny. All right, so the first thing is, as we left off, and some of you on my other channel have seen, I had gotten our barrels turned out, sort of. I was still having issues with the eccentricity of the center bores with the outside, and well, I went through some challenges to get it done, and I actually went ahead, getting the drill bit to go straight through, even though I was stepping up those holes, was not very easy. It was no matter what, I was still not finding a way to get all the way through and hit the other hole on the other side perfectly. It wasn't aligning very well, and it was being a little frustrated. So once I got the 5/8 hole pushed all the way through, it would throw it off center of the outside turning, and so I figured out how to get it chucked up into my lathe. I've already done it. Get ahead of you, because sometimes I just got to think about what I'm doing and how to get through it in order to make it work. But I did, and it meant some very challenging working, but the arbor on my lathe is a 5/8, basically a 5/8 rod that's coming out with a flat spot for putting set screws on. My arbor is 5/8 hole, and I can use the tailstock as a 5/8 to hold it. And what I did was locate the center of where the rod was, the drive shaft was going through, chucked it up like that with the rod, and I had to put a lot of pressure to hold it. I could only cut so much because otherwise it would spin, and you can see on these that there are various spots where it would spin on it and actually heat up the wood real good, because it didn't have anything to really bite it. So that was a challenge to get done. I got them done. I smoothed them out, sanded them down, and I'm happy with it. They all are pretty darn good balanced, pretty well balanced. So once they start turning, in the scratter box, you're not going to have too much of a vibration on it. The other thing that we're going to do, and while we're screwing it all today, is I can also potentially adjust that vibration by adding or subtracting a screw to the barrel to change and shift the weight, and that might be dealt with as we go along. In the time frame that I was unable to get to working on this, one of the boards, the humidity out here has changed drastically with the rain, getting more humid and dry and whatnot. So our boards that I was going to use, and this is such a beautiful piece of wood, the boards that I was going to use for the sides of the scratter box did a big
curve.
Can you see that in the camera?
I can see that.
Yeah, it's not really good. So I'm going to have to figure out how I'm going to get more material. I did cut the ends off of that board, and I'm trying to see if I can't hold some pressure on them to try and take that out. You see there's still a gap in that?
Yep, there's a slight curve still.
And a slight gap in that.
Yep.
If I can get it to retain that much and not go too much more than that, I might still be able to use these boards. If I can't, I'm gonna have to dig back into my stack and find some boards that are dried more thoroughly and that won't move like that, because this board was one that we took out of that log, so there was still some moisture in it. My other stack of wood here that was dried from the last essentially 2 years almost. Y'all remember that stack of wood on my front porch for a long time. I have wood there that we can use, so that, you know, I got a little screwed up on that because I got some warpage in. The way I'm going to make this scratter box, if I'd have been able to go ahead and cut the pieces and get them screwed together so that they would hold shape, I wouldn't have had this problem. But priorities are priorities. You have to eat first. Alright, so I managed to get those barrels turned down. No, you might be able to see that there is slight variations in diameter. That's not a big issue because I will make the placement of the scratter barrel in the scratter box. Rooster soup sounds so good right now, doesn't it? So I'll make the placement of that based on what it is when I get it done. So I need to know the extents and the outside diameter of the barrel once it has all the screws in it, and this is why we're going to get everything screwed up today, is I've got to now locate these screws, and this is going to be a little bit of a task, but I want to walk you through it. So there was something I wanted to say. I'll make sure I said it. As far as turning is concerned, for anybody who does attempt this, let me finish this statement on the barrels. It is just going to be flat out easier to go ahead and make the through bore of the 5/8 for the clearance of the 5/8 rod, and then chuck it up centered on that bore first before you try and turn it down. Then you're going to skip all the issues of me screwing around with getting them set up. So that looks like the best way to do it. So anybody who wants to go ahead and do this, get your stock, make sure you got it fairly squared so that you can make sure that drill bit's guided fairly true to the center as best you can, and then just turn it true to your boring. Now, let's move on. The next step that we've got is going to be very laborious in the time it takes to do this. This is a very slow, labor-intensive, not a lot of hard work, but a lot of making sure things stay accurate and in place. And I have a technique for doing this that I will walk you through and talk you through, and then, of course, I'm just going to do it, get it done, and then show you what it looks like in the end. We're going to talk about a few factors that I have worked through in what I've learned and what I've built and how it works. So, previously, I was using the biggest stock that I could get. And this is pine, and this is what we had up in Montana. However, as you can tell, radiating out from the center are the drying cracks. Now, That doesn't matter. It still will work, and it worked just fine. I also was able to kind of protect and seal this by dipping these entirely, submerging them into the polyurethane and letting that polyurethane soak into the pores really, really well. However, but because of these cracks, I would always ensure that when I put the grinder screws in, so these things are going to get screwed in at an off-center angle, okay, and they're going to go in down to about right there in the depth. So having this crack right here was not a big issue, because some of these would penetrate through this side to this side, kind of holding this together, so this stress could not, this stress crack here would not open or move any. You'd have multiple screws going through at an angle from different locations, tying this whole thing together and maintaining a big hold on everything. Right? You understand how that works? The reason for having, oops,
You're throwing your screws at me.
yeah, we're just screwing around today. We're just screwing around. So some would think, well, why don't you run the screws in perpendicular to the center from a radial direction? The reason is that these are 2-inch screws. I want them that long. For some of them, a good portion of them. Some of them are going to be shorter, but with the steel rod that's sitting in the center here, you'd hit that. So I'm going off center, and that also changes the angle of attack of what is going to be the grinder tooth, which is the head of your screw. So if I did it like this and it was perpendicular, by the rotation, this would act more like a cutting edge, and it's going to be a cutting edge to an extent. But what we've learned about making the juice is, when you throw in apples or pears or something like that into the scratter box and the grinder box, the more you can kind of crush the meat of the fruit, the more you can release the juices, and the more juice you'll actually press out. The more you cut into nice little uniform pieces, the less it really wants to compress.
You don't have as much pulp.
Yeah. It retains its structure, its fibrous structure, much better. So you don't get as much juice out of it. So this serves a lot of functions by turning that just a little bit, because then you're hitting flatter against this sloped face of the basically what will be the tooth, the grinder tooth. So several reasons we're going to do that. Okay, now, in order to do that, we want to do 2 different things. We want to Miss Hooktail. We want to do 2 things. We're going to want to locate in a fairly organized manner all the screw heads, all the screws, all the way around in an equally spaced manner, so that once these barrels, once they make a full rotation, that you have had screw heads do a full cut across the surface. So there has to be enough screw heads here all the way across in order to make a thorough cut across it. So you don't want to have gaps in here. So this technique we kind of developed by using a spiral pattern. So let me show you what we got over here. Up here, you almost can't see it. Where's my tape measure? Tape measure.
On your black cart.
Oh, here it is. Here's the other one. All right, so I'm in the process of getting ready to do that with these, and I have set myself up what is known as a template string. So I got 120 inches here. So there's so it's wrapped on itself twice, up and down, and it's 5 foot. And so what I'm going to do in order to locate these is I'm going to go, let's see, maybe we can do it from the bottom up. Let's do it from the bottom up. I'm going to go, can you do a hold of that and hold the camera? So we've got the middle one. So I'm going to mark this string right here. And then every 2 inches, I'm going to mark the string at 2 inches and 4 inches, at 6 inches right here, at 8 inches, oops, and this is not as exact and pretty as I'd like, but it'll do the job. 10. All right, I'll focus on that in a bit when we're not videoing. We'll finish this up. We'll just talk you through it. What do I do with the cat?
It's on the top shelf. Top shelf.
Get back up here. All right, so what I'm going to do, set that down, and what I do with the barrel. So we'll use this one to talk about it. In order to locate all my screw locations, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a point, and I'm going to put one of the screw heads in on this edge, sticking out past the edge just a little bit, and one on this edge straight across that's sticking out past the edge just a little bit, so that the last tooth will clear past the end of the barrel around the gap, so stuff doesn't get stuck in between the grinder barrel and the side of the scratter box. It'll be right here. A lot of thinking going on in this and how you design it. Then I'm going to take this, so I've got two loops up here, okay? And what T and I do, and it's kind of challenging to do this, so we'll have the rod that's going through the hole, and I'll hook the string on here and hook the string in there, and then I'll pull it. And then T slowly winds that, and it rolls in, and as it goes around, it rolls and rolls and rolls until I get to the very end. And when I get to the very end, I'm going to put a screw, drill and put a screw right in the center, holding that string as it spirals all the way out and spirals all the way out. Now where I've got all my little marks, I will come back with a marker and I'll put a little mark at each one of those. So every 2 inches I'll have a new one, another one, another one, another one, another one, and they will just spiral inwards. And that's going to take quite a bit of time to do that. That's not going to be an easy task to do that. On top of that, now I need to drill these. So I've created a V-block, and those who have ever done any machining know what a V-block is. It's used to hold round or irregular shaped objects so that you can machine them. And what I will do is I will take this and I will get it set just off center, and I need a different bit than this one. And then once I get it off center, then I will be able to move this, drill, move it over here, drill, rotate it, drill, 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 screw, 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 screw. So then I'll be able to set all the holes just offset, allow me to keep that same orientation on the V block to get all of them done. There are 60 screws that will be in every 60 one of these barrels. So it's a lot of holes to drill, a lot of screws to put in. And once I get them screwed, before I screw the screws in, I'm then going to protect the barrel again. These barrels are oak. They're a little heavier duty, harder wood, stronger wood than the pine. But I also want this thing to last a long, long time. So I'm going to do every bit of protection I can. So yesterday, as I was finishing up and cleaning these in the turnings, in order to prevent any further cracking so that it slow dries, and yes, it will continue to slowly, slowly, slowly dry, and that allows it to not split as bad or at all if possible. See, these things are going to be essentially coated in apple juice whenever you grind it. So it's going to have liquid on it, it's going to have sugary liquid on it, and you don't want it to get soaked into the wood for very now. Sugar is a preservative, And I want to, discuss something else here in just a second, because now I just remembered something. But anyway, the point is this. Once I have all of those holes in there for all the screws, and I've run the screws in and backed them out so the teeth have been cut into the holes, I'm then going to submerge it again. I'm going to let the polyurethane soak into it again so that it goes into each little hole and fills all the gaps and cracks and crevices the best I can, so that this thing is protected enough to last a long, long time. Now, I've had questions, and I want to address this about, why not, from people who know woodworking and understand wood and exposure to food and whatnot, why put polyurethane on it when a lot of the older apple presses, if you ever see them, are bare wood that have aged and grayed and weathered, it's just open bare wood. And why worry about it? Well, some parts of the press we're not going to polyurethane at all. The press barrel slats we will not poly. The pallet won't be polyed, and the stomper, the apple stomper that is used to push apples in so you don't like lose fingers and stuff. Those will not be polyed. The press plate. I don't remember if we polyed that or not. I don't think we.
No, we didn't.
We didn't poly that. Maybe we poly it, but we probably won't poly that. The press plate wasn't polyed. No, I think we did poly that.
No, because one of the press plates we did, it had a wormhole in it, so the juice was squirting up through the hole.
I don't know. Maybe we do. Maybe we didn't. Anyway,
doesn't matter.
The reason, back to what I was saying, the reason that certain parts are going to be polyed as opposed to being left as natural wood is because I want very long-term durability on this creation. I want it to be around for a long, long time. And yes, there are different methods for doing that. But the only thing I feel comfortable with against the juices, because the juices could be acidic in nature in different ways, is the polyurethane. And people say, well, it's plastic. Well, yeah, it's liquid plastic that you're coating it with that will help prevent the elements from getting into it. And to answer one more question, because many, I know I get comments on it. Well, why do you use food grade? Do you use food grade poly? And I've actually spoken to the manufacturers of the of the polyurethane. I've called them up and I've asked them what's the difference between food grade poly and regular poly. And basically they said once it's dry, there's no chemical difference between food grade poly and regular polyurethane. The difference in the polyurethane is the solvent. So for food grade poly, they make a solvent for the polyurethane that is based in something that is not as harmful to you if you were to happen to consume it or whatever in the period of time before it dries. Because once it's dry, it's plastic. Plastic is plastic, and the issue is you're not going to have any problem with it if supposing it flakes off or you get a piece that's scratched off or something like that, because all it's going to do is get into the pulp and be filtered out through the pulp. Okay? And I'm pretty sure that all of us have eaten some level of plastic in our lives at some point in time or another. Chewed on a pen cap or something like that.
Yep.
So it's not a big issue. For me, it's about preserving my creation as long as possible, making it durable as possible. The parts that are going to be the easiest to fix and replace, those parts that aren't going to require serious specificity in their build. You know, those I can easily just replace, like the slots for the press barrel, the pallet below, the stomper, all of those things. I'm going to leave them exposed and let them age as part of the wear of the apple press. So yeah, it's going to be a long screwed up day. I'm not sure how much I'm going to get done on this, but I think what I'll do is I'll leave this and end the video because I've explained a lot about what we've got going on and what we got to do. I don't think I'm going to be able to finish this today and in this video, so I will wrap up this video with the expectation when we start the next video, we're going to look at the scratter boxes and start constructing the scratter boxes, and by then I will be done with these and you'll be able to see what we've accomplished with these and the challenges of just how intricate the construction process is on it. So on that
note, say bye, Shadow.
Bye bye.